Unhand that precious balloon of hope.
You're not going crazy, Arthur.
Hi, this is Simon and welcome to another marvelous video. The unsung heroes who silently defend the defendless without the array of their more well-known counterparts exist in a world full of superheroes. But who are these figures and why do they put their lives in danger for the sake of justice? Join us as we explore some of the lesser-known heroes. We will learn the true meaning of heroism for their struggles and victories and see the amazing deeds of these unsung champions of justice. So buckle up as we explore the world of superheroes through cinematic universes, comic books and TV shows, and get ready for an adventure unlike any other. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, then please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin. Number 1. SHAZAM, 1978. Not a lot of you know this, but before hitting the big screen, SHAZAM was a TV show in the 70s. William Joseph Billy Batson is the chosen one by the wizard SHAZAM to be the beacon of goodness in the world. But there's a twist. Billy's true identity is kept a secret. Whenever he utters the wizard's name, he undergoes a magical transformation and emerges as a superhero with the strength of 6 legendary figures. It's like having a superpower cocktail all in one. Let's imagine this show's setup and some of its quirks. The dynamic duo of Billy Batson and Mentor, his traveling companion, comes first. Even though there isn't much detail provided regarding their connection or how Mentor learned about SHAZAM's powers, it is evident that they work together very well. Regarding Billy's parents, their absence is undoubtedly felt, but it gives the character a feeling of mystery that makes us want to know more. The show uses a quick introductory voiceover to explain that Billy's powers originate from the Elders, a group of mythological figures with the names like Hercules and Zeus. It may seem a little strange they are using a game show prop to interact with Billy, but it only adds to the joy of the show. While some of the lessons they teach are obvious, using quotes from Wordsworth and Shakespeare to support them has a beautiful flavor. While the show's setup may leave certain questions unresolved, there is still much to love. SHAZAM is a show that will keep you entertained and involved from beginning to end with its unique characters and innovative world building. Number 2. Nightman, 1997. In the late 1990s, the world was a much different place, but one thing that remained the same is our fascination with superheroes. Some touched the skies, but some barely took flight. Let's look at one such hero, the Nightman. This funky fresh hero isn't your typical cape-wearing crime fighter. No sir. Johnny Domino, a talented jazz musician, was struck by lightning in a cable car accident, giving him the power to recognize evil and the curse of insomnia. But fear not, he's got a slick black-bodied suit that grants him flight, invincibility, and advanced sight functions, including laser beams and night vision. The show is thought to have struggled from a lack of marketing, which meant many fans were just unaware of its existence. The show's low-quality special effects may have also turned off some viewers. However, it was a colourful and enjoyable TV show that delivered a different perspective on the superhero genre for those who tried it. It was a unique production worth seeing again because of its fusion of jazz music and superhero action. Number 3. The Amazing Spider-Man, 1977. The 1977 Spider-Man movie-led pilot was the birthplace of the iconic but short-lived series, The Amazing Spider-Man. Although it deviates slightly from the traditional Spider-Man storyline, it still delivers a thrilling and engaging experience. While the special effects may seem a little outdated by today's standards, they were considered cutting-edge at the time and added to the overall charm of the series. While some hardcore Spider-Man fans may take issue with the changes made, we have fond memories of this beloved show and its unique take on the hero. So the plot of this TV show goes something like this. A radioactive spider biting Peter Parker, a troubled college student, turning him into a web-slinging superhero, Spider-Man. He discovers a sinister plan by a self-help guru manipulating the wealthy into committing crimes. It is a timeless masterpiece, even if Spider-Man 1977 lacks the flashy CGI and moody dark superheroes of today. Who doesn't enjoy a good non-violent villain defeat? It resembles watching a cat play with a toy mouse rather than eating it. And let's face it, occasionally we just need a break from the anguish and grim reality that characterizes today's superhero movies. Number 4. AUTOMAN. AUTOMAN was a groovy superhero TV series in the 80s. It tracks the thrilling adventures of Walter, a tech genius and cop who fights crime. He is the Einstein of computer programming with a brain that's second to none, and he's tested his skills, birthing an AI program like no other. AUTOMAN, the icing on the cake. The program generates a hologram that can zap out of the digital world. This digital dynamo is so advanced it looks and sounds like a real person, with the power of superhuman strength and speed and whatnot. They save the day along with a nifty little sidekick called Cursor. This floating, shape-shifting polyhedron can make up physical objects on the fly, from a speedy car to a high-flying aeroplane or even a helicopter that defies the laws of physics. Cursor is the Swiss Army knife of the AUTOMAN team. To keep things hush-hush, AUTOMAN takes on the guise of a Fed named Otto J. Mann, a covert operation that only Roxanne, Walter's trusted comrade, knows about. But here's where it gets even wilder. Walter and AUTOMAN can merge into a superpowered entity, sharing skills and know-how while enjoying the perks of AUTOMAN's indestructibility. And when it comes to action, AUTOMAN delivers the goods. High-speed chases, epic explosions, and even some good old-fashioned fistfights. Walter might take a beating occasionally, but never fear. AUTOMAN's always on hand to save the day. Unfortunately, the show couldn't make the buzz. One of the reasons behind it was aired in a tough time slot, pitted against some heavy hitters like Scarecrow and Mrs. King, not to mention the hilariously entertaining TV shows, bloopers and practical jokes. But unfortunately for AUTOMAN, it just couldn't seem to pull in the viewers. With a low rating and the added expense of its mind-boggling special effects, the show was forced to bite the dust after just 12 out of its 13 episodes had aired. Number 5. The Tick 2016. The Tick, well, he's a superhero with more invincibility than Tupperware, and he's been around since 1986. Since then, various versions of the Tick have been around, but let's face it, most superhero shows go downhill after they run out of origin stories. But hey, not the Tick. Now, this guy's got jokes for days and takes down villains in a blue Tick suit. Plus, he's got amnesia about his past, the reason for which is different in various Tick stories. Which version do you want to believe? The latest one doesn't even bother to explain. The Tick has a sidekick, Arthur, and together they form an unlikely duo and set out to fight crime in the city. They face off against a variety of villains, including the sinister and powerful supervillain, the Terror. Along the way, the Tick and Arthur encounter several other characters, including superheroes like Overkill and Superman, and a group of eccentric villains known as the Flag Five. The Tick is a spoof of superheroes that even non-comic book geeks can enjoy. But here's the kicker, it got canned after only 2 seasons. That's almost as tragic as running out of toilet paper mid-business. While the show received positive reviews for its humor, some viewers may not have been sure what to make of the show's mix of comedy and superhero action. It may have also been a bit too quirky or offbeat for some viewers who prefer a more straightforward superhero story. Number 6. Blade, the series 2006. Born from the unison of a human mother, ruined by vampirism and a bite from Morbius, the living vampire, Blade is no ordinary superhero. He's the Daywalker, a fierce martial artist with all the strength of a vampire and none of their weaknesses. But his hometown of Detroit is in trouble. The Vampire Nation, led by the powerful Marcus Van Sciver and the House of Chthon, is cooking up something big, a cure that will make them immune to silver, garlic, and sunlight. The Blade isn't about to let that happen. With the help of his trusty computer whiz and weapons expert Chen, Blade is ready for a full-blown assault against the blood-sucking fiends. But can he stop the vampires before it's too late? Blade's superhuman talents and zeal will be put to the test as he battles his foes for the fate of humanity. The Blade must stop Project Aurora from unleashing an army of unstoppable vampires at any cost. Will he overcome the obstacles and save the world from the undead's vengeful jaws? The series was a valiant effort, but alas it fell short of perfection. It was as if too many ingredients were thrown into the plot, and some were forgotten in the chaotic mix. The result was a show that promised much but didn't quite deliver. Number 7. The Green Hornet, 1966. Britt Reed is not your typical wealthy playboy. Sure, he owns and runs the Daily Sentinel newspaper, but he also moonlights as the Green Hornet, a masked vigilante fighting crime in the shadows. With the help of his trusty martial arts expert partner Kato and his souped-up car, the Black Beauty, the Green Hornet takes down criminal gangs from within, leaving them to face justice at the hands of the police. Despite being labelled a criminal on police records, the Green Hornet is actually on the side of justice, using his cunning and resources to dismantle criminal operations. This thrilling tale of crime and justice features terrific performances from Van Williams and Bruce Lee, proving that superhero shows can have quality acting too. Sadly, this crime drama didn't get the recognition it deserved during its time on air. While other shows of similar themes were loaded with over-the-top spectacle, the Green Hornet kept things grounded and gritty. If only it had been given the chance to thrive, it could have outlived them all. Number 8. Swamp Thing, 1990. Swamp Thing, a once human named Alec Holland, whose fate takes on an unexpected turn after a series of treacherous events, caught in a blazing inferno, drenched with chemicals and cast into the murky Louisiana swamps by the malevolent Dr. Anton Arcane. Alec's body undergoes a grotesque transformation. No longer a mere mortal or any recognizable creature, he emerges as a muck monster with a body formed from the very essence of the swamp's flora and fauna. Possessing incredible strength and the ability to manipulate plants to his will, Swamp Thing is an ally in the battle against evil. The development of new and more advanced visual effects technologies also overshadowed the movie's use of real effects, which were outstanding for their time.
Goodbye, brother.
Number 9. Inhumans, 2017. Marvel's Inhumans TV series premiered in 2017, bringing to life the comic book characters of the same name on the small screen. The show followed the lives of the Inhumans, a race of superpowered beings living on the moon in the city of AUTOMAN. Led by their king, Black Bolt, the Inhumans are a complex and fascinating group of characters with unique abilities and personalities. Alongside Black Bolt, viewers were introduced to Medusa, his wife, and Queen of AUTOMAN, Karnak, an intellectual mastermind with the power to see flaws in anything, and Gorgon, a powerful and loyal warrior. The series also introduced new characters like Maximus, Black Bolt's brother, and a scheming, power-hungry antagonist, and Oran, a deadly assassin and loyal servant to the Inhuman royal family. While the series had its flaws, including some criticism over special effects and pacing, it still managed to tell a compelling story about a society struggling with issues of power, loyalty, and family. Fans of the Marvel Cinematic Universe were also excited to see the connection and references to the wider MCU, further expanding the shared universe. Number 10. The Cape, 2011. The show is set in Palm City and follows Detective Vince Faraday, who leaves the police force after witnessing the murder of a new police chief by a mysterious villain called Chess. Faraday is framed for the murder and apparently dies in a tanker explosion. However, he is saved by a traveling circus turned bank robbery gang and trained to use a cape made of spider silk to simulate superhuman abilities. He adopts a secret identity, the Cape, to clear his name and fight corruption in the city. Certain off-putting factors made the nerds look for the TV remote. Vince is a cop and the Cape is a superhero, but they have the same voice, which is not ideal for keeping a secret identity. It's hard to believe no one recognizes him. The show has its moments, like when Mina Savari guest stars as a villain, but overall it struggles with underdeveloped characters and awkward campiness. It's a shame because it had the potential to be great. Number 11. Birds of Prey, 2002. The new Gotham City, abandoned by the Dark Knight, doesn't mean the city is without hope. Enter Oracle and the Huntress, who've taken it upon themselves to continue the crusade against crime, but they can't do it alone. They're joined by DYNA, a telepath, and there's Alfred Pennyworth, who's serving Helena because she's the heiress to the Wayne estate. Talk about a handy sidekick. There's also Detective Jesse Reese, who's confronted with crimes and abilities he can't explain. It's like the city's gone crazy, and he's the only one who can try and make sense of it all. Good luck with with that, Jesse. So what do you get when you combine a team of unlikely heroes, a city in chaos, and a bunch of unexplainable superpowers? Birds of Prey is a show that's equally part thrilling and wacky. Sure, it may not have the same name recognition as some of the more prominent superhero franchises, but it's got heart, it's got humor, and some seriously kick-ass women taking names and kicking butt. Buckle up, folks, because we're about to talk action. The Matrix was a major influence on this series, with all the trench coat, kung fu fights, and slow motion shots, but don't worry, they switch things up by customizing each action scene to fit the bad guy that they're up against. It's like a tailor-made beatdown just for them. Now onto the writing. Let's just say that it's not exactly Shakespeare, okay? It's more like a bunch of high school drama subplots that make you want to fast forward through them, and don't even get me started on the cringe-worthy romance scenes. But hey, at least the action is good enough to distract you from the questionable writing, right? Just be sure to have that fast forward button at the ready when things start getting a little bit too cringe. Number 12, Mantis, 1994. Dr. Miles Hawkins was a wealthy scientist. One day, he got shot by a police sniper during a riot, and things took a turn for the worse. He found himself wheelchair-bound and paralyzed from the waist down, probably not how he imagined his retirement years. But instead of accepting his fate with grace, Hawkins decided to do something about it. He decided to expose a major conspiracy against the African-American community. So he goes on a quest to find the truth and bring justice to those who've been wronged. Now, you might think that being confined to a wheelchair would be a bit of a hindrance to his superhero ambitions, but Hawkins is not one to be deterred by something as trivial as physical limitations. He adopts the identity of M.A.N.T.I.S, which stands for the Mechanically Augmented Neurotransmitter Interactive System, because apparently the cool acronyms were all taken. Armed with a vast array of technology, including a secret submerged lab, a flying car, and a submarine, Hawkins sets out to fight crime and save the day. He becomes a mass protector of the people, bit like Batman, but without the cool gadgets and the gravelly voice. The show was groundbreaking for its time, covering essential subjects like racism, police brutality, and social injustice, and the cast was refreshingly diverse, with an Afro-American primary actor and a similar supporting cast. Unfortunately, despite its innovative approach, M.A.N.T.I.S struggled to find a large audience and was cancelled after just one season. But don't let that discourage you from checking it out. M.A.N.T.I.S may have been short-lived, but it remains a hidden gem from the 90s. It's also worth watching for anyone interested in a superhero show that isn't afraid to tackle serious issues. Who knows, it'll inspire you to become a mass crusader yourself, although you might want to invest in a better acronym. Number 13, Powerless, 2017. Witness the unsung heroes of the DC Universe in action with Powerless. The show revolves around Emily Locke, who's in charge of research and development at Wayne Security, a subsidiary of the legendary Wayne Enterprises. Emily and her team are responsible for creating products that protect the common folk from being collateral damage in the ongoing battles between superheroes and supervillains. The storylines aren't ripped straight from the pages of the comics, but instead imagine parallel plots that run alongside. So while you won't see Batman ducking it out with the Joker on screen, you'll get a fresh perspective on what it's like to live and work in a world where Cape Crusaders and dastardly villains are the norm. It's possible that Powerless had a few dents in its defense. Its characters were criticized for feeling flat and lacking depth, for naming one. Even Van Wayne failed to connect with viewers. It's as if the writers blended up the cliches from classic sitcoms and produced a tasteless connection of the awkward genius, naive go-getter, and prickly boss. While the show made an effort to establish its own character, it couldn't help but frequently bring up its superhero origins. The numerous, somewhat forced allusions to Bruce Wayne came off as pandering to the comic book set rather than naturally blending. In other words, Powerless struggled to connect with audiences because it was attempting to have its cake and eat it too.
ELECTRA change.
Number 14, Electra Woman and DYNA Girl, 1976. Back in 1976, there was a show that had it all. Spandex, capes, and no-so-violent action. Electra Woman and DYNA Girl was the name of it, and these two crime fighters were the real deal. By day, there were just a couple of reporters for Newsmaker magazine, but by night, they donned their highly coloured spandex suits, hopped in the Electra car, and took on a crew of baddies with their arsenal of gadgets. So if you're feeling nostalgic nostalgic for the good old days when superhero TV was all about cheesy costumes and over-the-top action, Electra Woman and Dyna Girl have got you covered. You know what they say, ahead of its time is a fancy way of saying didn't get the recognition it deserves. Now, that is precisely the case with Electra Woman and Dyna Girl. These spandex-clad superheroes were pioneers of the modern superhero genre, complete with flashy costumes, high-tech gadgets, and a theme song still stuck in our heads decades later. And, like we said, it didn't get the popularity it deserved back in 1976. Maybe because it was just a kid show, and we agree, sophisticated storytelling and special effects weren't exactly the show's strong suits. But it was all about wacky fun, which makes it so endearing today. Number 15, Superboy, 1988. Once upon a time, the small screen embraced the idea of a Cape Crusader with flight and tights. It was long before Smallville swooped in that a highly successful TV show aired titled Superboy. This series featured the Boy of Steel in his early college days, grappling with the use of his superhuman powers while fighting crime at Schuster University. Superboy set the foundation for the character's significance in the DC Comics universe, paving the way for more superhero shows to come. However, one significant difference between the two shows that was Superboy had a young Clark Kent donning the iconic tights and glasses with two separate identities. In contrast, Smallville's focus was on the growth and journey of Clark Kent from adolescence to adulthood without the traditional garb. Now, hold on to your capes, folks. The Superboy TV series is a high-flying ride through DC Superman history, with a possible layover in Gotham. The romance between Lana and Superboy is so convincing that Lois Lane might as well pack her bags and head for the hills. Sure, the Daily Planet makes an appearance somewhere on the show, but who really cares? By the time the show wraps up, you'll feel like you've been watching Superman himself, except with a small detail of him being called Superboy. But let's not get it twisted, folks. The Superboy TV series is the best storytelling of Superman on the small screen. Conclusion. Today we discussed a topic near and dear to every superhero fan's heart: forgotten live-action superhero shows that deserve more recognition. But what makes these shows so special? It could be the unique stories they tell, like the adventures of AUTOMAN or the supernatural detective work of Nightman, or it could be the talented actors who brought these characters to life, such as legendary Adam West in the Green Hornet. Well, whatever the reason, these forgotten superhero shows deserve more recognition, not just for their nostalgic value, but for the inspiration and entertainment they provided to generations of fans. And if you liked our content, well, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.